Could just be could just be the connection itself. And now it's here an excellent connection. Okay, it says I'm live. Sorry, I know you guys can hear double me. Okay. I grind Durio and AOZ now over and over. I find a game cathartic. I guess like Power Fantasy and Smashing Demons. Generally speaking, that's I'm kind of in that same boat. Sometimes I do like. Sometimes I mean, yeah, I have to kind of remind myself. That's kind of why I'm playing the builds I'm playing now. It's just like sometimes I just like killing things. Quite interested to see what season 3 will bring. I guarantee you we're gonna have a multiple pages of bug fixes. If the devs do like any live streams or like that, like live, campfire streams or whatever, I guarantee you one stream will be just bug fixes. They'll only have enough time to go over all the bug fixes for one stream, and then have to do a different campfire to talk about the rest of season 3. So, man, gonna be wicked. Barb nerf 1, Barb nerf 2, Barb nerf 3. Actually, we don't see. I don't see Barb really getting hit that hard. Like I can see Overpower getting touched, which will be an indirect nerf to Barb, of course. And then you might see Hoda get scaled down a little bit. But everything else on Barb is quite reasonable. Oof. Snake at me. Probably shouldn't have it. I probably shouldn't have evaded that way. Said we also have a lot of people that won't like the way builds are. True. Like shown here as well in other streams, in particular, I like Macro Bio Boy. But this is spot number one. But this spot is number one. Yeah, I was actually chilling in Macro's stream earlier. I was watching him play. Was it Sea of something? Sea of something. It's a JRPG. And I'm a huge fan of JRPGs, so I was like watching for a bit. The battle music was actually sick. Sea of Stars, yeah, there we go. Yeah, the battle music was like super sick. It's a JRPG, Japanese RPG. Like just the type. It's just a type of action RPG, like I don't want to say a brand of RPG, but JRPGs are typically like turn-based, very heavy story-ish type RPGs. Like Mario RPG plus Chrono Trigger, yeah. The backlash from them fixing stuff from preseason right before season one, I feel like is some, or maybe at least a little bit a part of the reason why I feel like a lot of things were slid under the rug this season. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I would say it's a lot of the reason why it is that way this season. Like, no question, man. Because, and the thing about it is, I understand why, but I also think that like you kind of need to, in my opinion, you need to have a philosophy and stick to it. So I agree with them fixing bugs preseason. I do think that that they need to like they need to have a way of doing it where you let the player base know that something is bugged, why is bugged, and that you will be fixing the said bug, so people don't log in the next day when something that they're playing they may or may not even know is bugged, depending on the build. They may not know is bugged, and then they log in the next day, all of a sudden that build that they were playing or using no longer works, and then you're pissed off. So I can understand the players' perception or what's a bug. I could understand the players' like frustration with something like that, right? Don't do that, which is exactly what they did. They did that. They would fix things that would completely ruin people's builds. Despite the fact that it was bugged, they have to understand that the majority of the player base isn't going on, YouTube, or isn't trying to discover if their build is a bug or not. And most content creators are not putting in their videos saying that this build is a bug. So they might be following, popular content creators who are coming out with build guides and things like that don't mention the fact that it's a bug. So they're following it, thinking it's going to be something that they're going to always be able to play if they want to. And then the next day, bam, it's gone. That feels awful. And I think that's the approach Blizzard took in preseason. And that's what people were pissed off about the most, in my opinion. Now, there are some people that would just rather Blizzard to not fix any bugs at all and be like, okay, no, just leave things as it is. But I think more people were more pissed off with the way they did it versus the actual bugs being fixed. Had they just took the route of, hey, we know that these X things are bugged, they're broken, they're bugs, we plan on fixing them next week, just giving you a heads up as you're playing this build or like that, then at that point you give players time to go and be like, oh, okay, well, I may not like Blizzard's decision on that. I was really enjoying this bug build, but at least I know. At least I know it's bug. At least I have time to change to something different if I want to, knowing that it's bug, and I just don't log in one day and thinking I have my little hour to play, and all of a sudden my build doesn't even work, and I got to spend my entire hour trying to spec into something different. That feels awful. That feels completely awful. So because they didn't go about it that way, telling the player base and giving them a heads up, they went the opposite direction where they gave everyone a heads up about how they're not going to fix anything, which is the exact opposite direction that that they also, I don't think, really should have taken. I really think that you should have just stick to, you know, a philosophy and just let people know that if things are broken or bugged, that you're going to fix it, right? You're going to fix things, but at least let the player base know that you're going to do so and explain what the bug is and why it's there. So therefore people have the choice to sit there and do something different. I think that will, not everyone would like that per se, but that will go over much better because then at least they know Blizzard has a philosophy. Oh, this is how they do things. In the future, if something is bugged, expect for it to get fixed and expect for them to tell us that it's going to get fixed. So if you stick to that, right, you stick to that philosophy, I think more people would have been on board with things getting fixed this season if they would have had that same approach in season 1 and also preseason. You see what I'm saying? Not right now, it looks like Blizzard has no philosophies at all. It looks like they have no direction, no idea of what they want to do with these broken or bugged or exploits. It just seems like it's up in the air. Like if I had to sit there and describe it, I have no idea what Blizzard wants to do with this. Going into season 3, I assume they're gonna want to crack down on all the broken stuff, but there's no consistent philosophy that they've held since launch when it comes to these kind of approaches. That's what I'm afraid of. Yes, they need one direction that is fair. They need one fair direction, not necessarily a direction that everybody has to like, but one fair direction where you know that going forward, if something is bugged, you know it's going to get fixed, but you also know and you have time to spec out of it and it's been announced and you can then, you know, do something about it as a player instead of just getting blindsided, which is what has happened. And unfortunately, the content creators didn't help. Like, you know, us as content creators, you know, if you created a build and you didn't mention it was bugged, but you knew it was bugged, the content creator is also part of the problem when that happens. Because, like, obviously, they know it's bugged. Generally speaking, especially in the early gaming life of games, companies tend to try to fix bugs quite often. And the content creator doesn't, like, say, hey, guess what? This is bugged, just letting you know. Anytime this can get fixed. So you're not really doing the player base any justice when you're not upfront and honest about it. And I know why some people don't do it. Some people don't do it because it would end up hurting your views. Because it's like some people may not just want to play a broken build or play a bug build that may get fixed. So they will just stray away from it, or they just may not click on said video. So, but at the end of the day, it's just like, hot take blindside is good. Kappa. So people don't do it because they don't produce their own content. They just follow the way, you know, theory crap. They don't test. Very true. Yeah, I mean we're in that age of gaming now where, I mean, that's definitely the norm. But it's like, that is the reality of things. And so, but yeah, so I mean, content creators, you know, play a role in that. Blizzard definitely played a role in that with how they went about fixing the bugs in preseason. But going the 100% opposite direction, I don't think does them any favors long term. Like I said, people are super, you know, people were happy about it. You know, when they announced that they plan on, you know, not, you know, nerfing anything in season 2, but that doesn't help long term because now we don't know what Blizzard's philosophy really is. What is your take on bugs going in the future? Well, you know, the player base doesn't know. We don't know. There's no solid direction right now that we know for sure that they want to take. Yeah, Thailand, I struggled with that too, man. because we purposely were not trying to create especially rogue builds. Especially, we were purposely trying not to create rogue builds. At least Woody and I, initially when the bug was introduced, we were like, I don't know if we're gonna write to this, right? Because obviously it's bugged, but our hands were tied the moment that Blizzard said that, you know, bring your 16 combo point builds to AOZ, and it's like, okay, well now we don't have a choice but to write to that because, well, Blizzard is, you know, promoting it. So it's like, how do we tell people not to when Blizzard is like, oh, well, Blizzard told you to do it? And it's like, well, that's true. You can't argue with that. Blizzard did tell you to do it. So it's rough. It sucks that that's, you know, what we ended up having to do. But yeah. Trust me, I did not want to. Like I asked like Woody, are we really writing to this? Are we really gonna write to this, man? He's like, yeah, we got to. And I'm like, all right. Like Blizzard is just afraid of making any changes this season that were preceding nerfing fun after the fiasco with the nerf patch of season 1. And that's the thing I find really strange about season 1. Let me get into that in a second. Shiny, what's going on? I'm gonna stop by and say thank you for the raid last night. All good. All good. Hope you have fun. Hope my community was nice to you. What's the fastest way to get sigil? Like sigil dust? Well, you can get sigils from doing whispers for sure. T100 if you're quick, if you can farm it, is also not a bad way to get sigil dust. If you're able to do AOZ, if you have a season, you know, journey completed, I would say doing you know, tier 1 of Abattoir Azir would be the best way to kind of get some sigil dust. You run out all the time. Yeah, I would do low level AOZ then. Like if you're running out of it, you're probably trying to push your limits a bit too often. And of course, you know, the more times you die and you don't get sigil dust back from dying, then you're gonna run out of it. So you might want to stick to the lower tiers for a bit longer to farm up some more sigil dust or powder. It's really the only like efficient way to do it. But if you want a safe option, then yeah, you can just do T100s. But yeah, so Moonzuck 2. What was I gonna say? I had perceive his nerf response if fiasco nerf and pack. Okay, that's right. So here's the thing. It's unfortunate because too many content creators at the time did not truly understand that we were stronger in season 1 than we were in preseason. After the nerfs, we were able to do content easier and faster in season 1. After the nerfs, people kind of got all, you know, riled up with the changes to vulnerable and crit damage, and you know, some of the stat changes, and just automatically assume that our like just, you know, that we're way weaker now than before. And the reality is we were stronger in season 1 than we were before. But people, keep in mind, I say content creators because that's kind of where it mostly happened. You don't get views by like being logical and like, you know, giving the big picture. You get views by complaining about why something is dumb and stupid. So there were content creators being disingenuous about what was actually happening with season 1, with the nerfs to crit and vulnerable, and that just spread. That would just spread, you know, and That's kind of what happened. And so the people who were complaining about it just truly didn't even play season 1 or don't understand that that's not what happened. Now, don't get me wrong, there were problems in season 1. There were absolute problems in season 1. Can go over all the problems that were there in season 1, but our power, like the amount of damage we did, our power, whatever like that was not the problem. The big patch nerf was not the problem. People overreacted before actually playing season 1. Big time. Fat Forever, appreciate the follow. Dingus was going on. Should I do pin shot or barrage? But if I just got the 50 and you don't have the rapid fire aspect yet, I would just do barrage. I would continue with barrage. Yeah, it's like you can't blame something you didn't understand. You know, at the end of the day, we were stronger. So people who got pissed off about that because they thought they were weaker just didn't play the season. They went off of, again, a few content creators who were, you know, pretty massive or like that, who just over exaggerated the problem that really wasn't the problem. Because it wasn't. That wasn't a problem at all. So the main reason why they didn't fix bugs is because there'll be massive nerfs to sort Druid and Rogue, and they will be called liars. Is that in reference to them not nerfing season 2, or is that just in reference to like the season 1, well, nerf per se, the season 1 patch nerf? Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, the thing about it is that like they could have fixed bugs before and not tweet that. Obviously, because they tweeted we're not going to nerf season 2, Season of Blood, or like that. Then yeah, their hands were tied at that point. But they could have not tweeted that, and they could have, you know, done it. But I mean, after you set that tweet out, you're right. They can't do anything. Their hands are tied. So like, if worse bugs come out, or, you know, worse, whatever comes out, they kind of have to leave it alone because they said what they said. So that's actually why I'm surprised they even fixed the Hydra bug, because, you know, I was wondering if they were going to leave that in. And I was like, you're going to leave that? Because technically, you know, it is an exploit, but if you fix it, it's a nerf. And surprisingly, the community didn't give them, like, you know, crazy backlash for it. I expected them to fix both the snapshotting and timer bug because both those are exploits. Well, yeah, I mean, probably not the snapshotting thing. I personally wasn't expecting them to fix that because they left the gear swapping in. So it's like, not saying that they wanted you to gear swap. I'm not indicating that at all. But the fact that gear swapping is a thing, you know, let's be honest. Like, you didn't think people were gonna snapshot, leaving the, you know, the gear stuff like that, like leaving us having the ability to switch gears mid rift. Like, you had to know that could have been a thing. Now, I wanted it to be fixed. I wanted that. Obviously, I don't want that to be the, you know, to be the thing. I don't like that at all myself. But yeah, I totally expect this to be like, I already knew it was gonna be a problem the moment that they mentioned we could swap gear and swap skills. Like, bro, really? And we even had this conversation in Maxroll where we were just saying, because like we all know it's a dead game if it was bad, okay? We had this conversation in Maxroll about it because we were just like, so are we gonna write builds and explain to people when to when the snapshot said pieces of gear and when to switch gears and switch builds and abattoirs here. Like, are we really gonna have a, like, you know, explanation in our AOZ tabs for that? But yeah. Yeah, I was surprised they actually messed with the Hydra bug. Which kind of gave me a little hope that they would touch some of the more, you know, or touch exploits. But I don't know. I think Blizzard's out for the rest of the year. They're on, like, they have their, like, Christmas break or whatever like that they have around this time of year every year, where they go completely silent for like 2.5 weeks or whatever, because they're all on vacation. So I don't think we're gonna see anything, honestly, for the rest of the year, like legit anything. It's surprising we got a festive kind of thing. Well, I mean, that was already in the works. Like, that was already, like, being developed in the works before December, right? So, however, like, you know, bug fixing or, you know, exploit fixing or whatever like that, that's, like, on the go, like, as it's happening, as they discover it, as they put in work with it. And I just don't think they're gonna do anything about both the timer exploit or the snapshotting, especially not snapshotting, given that they let us swap gears, which I don't know, man. It just kind of is what it is.
Such poor equipment. Let me help.
Rip, huh? Die pretty common in tech. Co-freezes this time of year. I took from 14th to the 31st off myself as a software engineer. Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's also why I also think that, like, I was hoping like D3 season would start like towards the end of December, but I also forgot that, like, since Blizzard tend to kind of like take off for the holidays, that they wouldn't start a season in which they won't be around to fix big problems or something like that. So I assume we'll probably get season something happening in D3 like early January probably. Zarya, what's going on, man? Oh, that's a lag spike. I'm invited to. You are invited to my turkey dinner up in Canada for Xmas. You don't have plans. I'm just putting it out there. Oh man, I would need to update my passport and everything. A turkey dinner for Christmas, though? That sounds great though. Turkey's right next to you. So it's 25 to 50 bucks to fly. What is SC2 and WC3? StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3: The Frozen Throne. They're both real-time strategy games, RTS games. Poke. Yay, look at that. Tears of Blood 25. I think the problem with nerfing in season 1 was two things. It did hurt eternal characters who didn't have the malignant hearts to get more power. That is true. That is true. Two, there was no reason to nerf those things in the first place. And the way that they did it, vulnerable crit was still such BS that they could have easily just made 20, 30 nightmare tiers so people don't feel weaker. True. I guess the assumption, I guess, in bigger ways is that people are just going to gravitate towards seasonal, just like in every other action RPG. Seasonal has always been the big thing. D4 is really the only like action RPG at the moment that of this year in general that like people just kind of like resilient to playing seasons in general. And I think that has a lot to do with just the fact that they, you know, with D4 being such a huge game and very popular amongst, you know, at release, that many people just are coming from different genres and stuff like that that don't know that seasonal thing is like the thing in action RPGs. So like I think that's kind of what that is. Whereas like I could tell you, I can use my brother as an example. Like my brother is a prime example of that. Like, you know, he didn't play any of the action RPGs beforehand. Diablo 4 was his first action RPG, and he hated the idea of seasons. He didn't even like, or I was right. He didn't dislike these seasons. He actually liked seasons. He hated the idea he had to make a new character for seasons. He hated that. Like that was something he was like, what do you mean I have to make a new character? Because he's coming from Destiny too, which you don't have to make a new character for, right? So he didn't understand why that was the case for Diablo, you know, for Diablo, right? So I do think that there's I won't say like a disconnect, but probably more people than expected coming from different genres of games, playing in action RPG games that just don't like the idea of starting a new character for seasonal content. And because of that, you know, anything that you do in season is going to affect non-season. So there is going to be a bigger audience to talk about it. So I think that's kind of, I think that's kind of where that that part kind of comes in. So yeah, I mean, our power went down in season 1, but they also nerfed Nightmare Dungeons to compensate. Yeah, that's very true. The Nightmare Dungeons did get nerfed a lot. That also affected seasons and non-seasons. No Barber though, obviously, in non-se in the Eternal Realm, but Nightmare Dungeon was a lot easier. Nightmare Dungeons were a lot easier after the patch. So the relative power was roughly the same in Eternal after the nerf, but we were stronger in season 1 after the nerf because of the Barber. But I could see why people misconstrued it to be something different. But it's like, you know, you still have to kind of play the game to know. A few content creators I really do think really like embelled, like really overreacted and really exaggerated what the actual problems were. And it's great for views the more you complain, especially about a game that people were already not too happy about. So if you can exaggerate something that really isn't that big of a problem, but you can make it a big problem, hella amount of views for YouTube. I'm talking about the sigil issues area. Oh, by the way, I did test the whole like distance and close damage thing that I was talking about. I was telling you about on Discord, and it's dynamic. It does not snapshot. So like, for example, obviously, let's just say hypothetically you're using rapid fire with the bow, just hypothetically, right? You would always want to like evade away from the target. So therefore, I mean, you can start close. But if you evade away from the target, you'll get your distance damage per se, because you'll be distant by the time that your attacks are coming out and hitting. Like maybe not the first hit, the first arrow too will still be registered as close damage, but the rest of the arrows will be registered as distant damage, and also vice versa. So like if you're starting at a distance and then you evade forward into the mob before the first arrow hits and you're close, then those arrows will be considered close damage and not distant or not distant arrows per se. I highly think that the damage reduction, like or close damage and distant damage reduction stuff, works very much the same way. Which that part is bigger than the offensive part of it, for now, to know. Coming from MMO RPGs, I hate the seasonal content as I love creating alts. Yeah, it's just like the idea of restarting or starting a new character in general is not a normality in other types of genres. So for me, as someone who plays a lot of action RPGs, or at least Diablo 3 and of course Diablo 4, to me it's a norm. You make new whatever, new character, whatever like that season. That's, we're used to it. That's just what you do. And that's it, right? But we're used to that. People, coming in from different games or not. And it's a rude awakening to me as a player, because I just always thought people just look at it that way too, until I talked to my brother, who is he's exactly that individual coming over from a different game genre that didn't have to do it, and he just did not understand why we had to create new characters, and was never on board. He likes the game, and he'd play the game if he did not have to create a new character. Like, he doesn't even play the game anymore because of that reasoning. Like, he's completely just put off of the game primarily because of that. And I did tell him that he can, play Eternal Realm all he wants. You don't have to ever play seasonal, but, he would like to enjoy the seasonal goodies without making a new character. And, I mean, I understand. I'm used to it. It doesn't bother me, but I can understand why it bothers him. said initially D4 was supposed to have MMO-ish features and whatnot, or that's what you're understanding. We do have that. It's an action RPG with MMO elements. Like the whole open world concept is technically MMO element-ish type thing. You know, being able to see people walk around and interact with them as you're doing stuff in the open world is kind of like the MMO element. The whole tackling of the world boss, everyone coming together to kill the world boss, is MMO-ish type thing. Legions, meeting to do the legions or whatever like that is also MMO-ish type thing. So like there is some features, but it's not supposed to be like an actual MMO. It's just they borrowed some elements from it to kind of make it feel like a bigger world as you're playing. But yeah, it is definitely an action RPG at its core, and it doesn't really pretend to like not be that. I don't understand the whole purpose to start from scratch, fresh start, no baggage, no bonuses. Yeah, we know that because we've done it. Someone else who's never played in, an action RPG like Diablo 4 wouldn't understand that concept. That's what I'm saying. They don't know it's supposed to be a fresh start. For them, it's like, why can't I play the new content with the character I spent hours building? Which it's kind of hard to sit there and tell them your thought is wrong or your viewpoint is wrong, because that's not really, they're not wrong for thinking that, right? Or wanting that, but that's just not how it works in action RPGs. I don't mind a fresh start. In fact, I enjoy the fresh start myself, but I can understand why people don't. Why do people say action RPG equals seasons? That's just not accurate. I think that's where the majority of the population ended up gravitating towards. So there has been more emphasis on creating seasonal content, and seasonal content being the more important avenue, right? Because of the amount of people that gravitated towards playing said seasonal content. So when more people show more interest in playing seasonal content, which, had the whole starting over, fresh start thing, what like that, then of course game companies started building around that and making that the model. When you look at when you look at games now, most games now, even if they're not action RPGs, right, are based around seasons, right? Of some sort. Some, obviously some games don't require you to start a brand new character, but seasons are expected. We have it in Fortnite, we have it in, Apex, we have it in, action RPGs, you have it in, they're practically everywhere now for the most part. The season is even an excuse for a battle pass, which is money. And you know what? I wouldn't say that's not an inaccurate thing. It is more money, it piques people's attention, which gives businesses a way to make more money. I definitely don't deny that as a thing. But I will say that the player base basically drove the idea of liking seasonal stuff more than non-seasonal stuff. And therefore companies basically decided, oh, well, this is what you like. Okay, well, we will give you that, but we'll also add a little, whatever, little teases in the shop and battle passes and stuff like that. So since this is the kind of content that the player base gravitated towards. I say this as someone who hated seasons initially in Diablo 3. I didn't play seasons for the first 11 seasons of the game. Did not play seasons at all. I did not like seasons. I didn't understand. I didn't like the idea of, I spent all this time, freaking getting my little working my ass off to get like, my little, or my Bugatti car, right? Just to park it in the garage and start off with the Ford Pinto again 3 months later, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, bro, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? I want to play with my Bugatti, man. I'm going to drive my Bugatti, man. I spent all this time trying to get it. You know what I'm saying? I want to play with my, I want to play with the Bugatti, right? So I initially didn't understand either. I was like, I was on both sides of the fence. I totally get it from both sides. Like, bro, I am not about to start with this little broke ass Ford Pinto, right? With no doors and whatnot, no paint job, no nothing. Just to sit there and say, hey, I think it's fun to try to get this Bugatti all over again. No, it ain't. Hell no, it ain't. That was my that was my thought at the time. I'm like, no, absolutely not. But over time, I warmed up to it and gotten used to it, and started to really understand where, how much fun it could be to start over, right? But nah, at first, man, I was not feeling it. I was not feeling that. So I get it from both sides. So we as a community caused that ultimately. I mean, technically, yes. I'm not trying to blame the community for that, but it's like a business can only prey on the player base if the player base let them prey on them. I'll give you an example of this, right? So like, and I say like community, but I'm talking about like, like gamers in general. Like the only reason why free to play does as well as it does is because the community showed the company that they can make more money by doing a free to play model. If they made less money doing free to play, no company would ever do free to play. But unfortunately, you got some giga whales and also enough people who don't mind spending, money for power and whatever like that model works so well. And as long as there's enough people in the world that don't mind that, then the company's like, oh, this is a great way to make money. Why don't we do more of this? And then the player base is like, you see people complain, right? It's like, dude, free to play is awful monetization is predatory, et cetera, but there's enough people paying for it that it makes the company money. So it's kind of like the company is like, are you sure it's not moral? Are you sure that this is a bad idea? Because my bank account says otherwise. Our yearly earnings says otherwise. Our stocks are looking pretty good right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't like free to play. I can't stand that model either, but it exists the way it is. You know what I'm saying? It exists the way it is because guess what? It's us.
Yo, Dark Side, we just got raided, son. You know how we do.
Rad
Drop my
Mika
new
with the
beat for these
raid.
new viewers.
Sheezy out.
Ravnica
What's
raided
going
my
on?
stream with
He says
47
different.
views.
Yeah, I had to change the music because I now stream on YouTube as well. So I try to do dual streaming or whatever. And the music that I have rights to for Dashizi's song still gets claimed on YouTube, which I have to go and file have to go get disputed to get it removed. So therefore it doesn't cause any problem. I have to do it after every stream on YouTube, and that kind of got annoying. So I was trying to figure out a way around it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have to just do a different song for him because otherwise I'm gonna be sitting there having to do extra work after every stream just to not get copyright strike. So yeah, that's why I had to change it or change the song. But what's up? Appreciate Appreciate the raid in. You said you brought up season to other games, and I want to say in Fortnite, I said you don't lose anything in seasons. You just get more content to try out. And yeah, that's fair. Each genre has their own approach with how they do seasons, right? It's not going to be the exact same across the board. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with any approach. I'm just saying that seasonal content in general, or seasonal content itself, tends to be like the norm that people kind of expect going forward. And the way that action RPGs just tends to just be a reset. People tend to like the reset, and D2, ironically enough, is, you know, kind of popularize. I'm gonna say popularize it, but that's kind of where a good chunk of where the model kind of came after. You know, despite the reasoning for why season existed in the first place in D2, it turned into something of oh yes, ladder reset, we start over, yay, you know, that kind of thing. And then just other action RPGs kind of just followed that trend because people, you know, they saw how successful it was in D2, and it's just like, all right, well, we're gonna do that. Kind of do that. Guess who's a Diablo partner now? I know. I saw you. Awesome to see you, Rev. And congrats on that. For sure. Welcome to the society, you know, underneath the earth. That's right. The super secret society underneath the earth. You like resets for the economy, resets in D4 and D3 because you don't get to trade everything. I don't think resets for the sake of add anything. I can see that. I don't know if I can relate because I don't trade, but I can see why that would be a big thing for someone who does trade a lot. So I see that. Do you know if Duro counts as a mob type maggot? That's actually a good question. That's a good question. I don't know. That's a very, very good question. The new song is fire. Thanks. It's a similar concept to doing wipes in games like Tarkov, bring tons of players back every time. That's also another thing too as well. But yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, we you know, generally speaking, we tend to, you know, create our own habits that the companies can then try to find ways to monetize off of, right? I guess that was kind of the last thing I think I had to say about it, or at least the end part of what I was saying about it. But I can understand on both sides of the equation, because I used to be the I hate seasons dude, to the seasons are, you know, not bad. Yeah, but I think honestly, I probably enjoy seasons more as a content creator than if I was just playing regularly. Like if I was just playing regularly or whatever like that, it might be a little bit different story. But because I do stream the game or like that, and there's more excitement when a new season comes around or whatever, that's, you know, that's great for content and stuff like that. So I think I probably enjoy it more as a content creator than anything. Ow. Because there's elixir that gives 20% extra damage on maggots. Yeah. I think so domination. Actually, I'm not using domination. Not with this. I don't have any. I can't like or yeah, I'm not using domination. Yeah, at this point, it's just like it happens. Stuff happens. Although I am stunning them for some reason. I have no stun on anything, but I sometimes stun them, which is awkward, odd. But it's only with Forceful Arrow, but Forceful Arrow doesn't have an innate stun. And it's not when I knock them back into something, but they do get stunned every now and then from it. Like right now, Well, I have. Let's take this off. Let me see if I can make them or stun them. Or stun more individual. Okay, I actually made him immune to crowd control. Not what I was trying to do. Can I force a stun? Okay. That's not happening now, but it does happen. I'll call it out when I see it, but yeah, I was stunning sometimes. It was weird. It's gonna happen now? That's a daze. YouTube replay feature said you died from the ice spikes from the spiders. Okay, gotcha. That's useful. It's an instant replay. So don't get close to the ice spiders. It was a melee attack, right? Or I was like all up on them. I'm pretty sure I was. Blood blisters. I don't see the stun anymore. There was a time frame where I was just stunning all the time. Well, not all the time, but I would see it every now and then on Force for Arrow. I'm like, what is the stunning them? Actually, on vampires, I think the Seekers are vampires, right? It doesn't work on Seekers though. It's been tested. Yeah, the Seekers are technically vampires. Yeah, but yeah, the elixir doesn't work on the Seekers. Sorry for the late response. I was just now seeing that. Alright, Chaos Factory, you have a good one, man. Oops. I got real greedy there, and it actually paid off. Usually it doesn't, but that time it paid off. Nah, it was Kobe shots. I got hit from like from a long range there, which I guess kind of makes sense. I have a lot less damage reduction versus crowd control or crowd impaired damage reduction. I kind of removed a lot of that. So I guess the cold spiders probably hurt a hell of a lot more than they did before. Because I was running with like, I had like 30% from just the gems in my armor. Then I had like another 18% from skills. So I didn't really feel it as much. Showing looking at games, thinking what could be fun. Oh, looking at the games. Yeah, I'm gonna start doing like dual game streams, I guess. I'll probably start playing D4 and then play something different like the last half. because I still want to play D4. Just probably not as much of it. MK1 win. That is definitely on the table. That is on the table. That Street Fighter 6. I haven't played a bit of that. My chat suggested Remnant 2. So that's also on the table. Fighting games of fire. They are. I'm playing as a sorcerer in Diablo. What up, Icy? How's it going? How are you liking your sword? Baldur's Gate 3. I thought about it, but I also know how long of a game it is. Because I won't be like streaming like 7, 8, 9 hours of like said, you know, a game of like that. It'll be kind of hard to kind of get like, or to get people, I don't want to get people into, but like to really get into something for like maybe 2.5, 3 hours of playtime, like per game stream. You know what I mean? I think it might take a little long to kind of like really get it revving. Now, if I was switching to Baldur's Gate 3 or something like that, or, you know, becoming more variety, you know, content creator, then yeah, for sure. But I think, you know, something to kind of like segue or to kind of like keep myself from burning out in Diablo 4, I think needs to be something I can kind of just jump into and immediately kind of get, I won't say immediately, but, you know, get something that's going to be kind of quick to get into the fun parts, I guess. Some StarCraft with chat? I will not. No, not happening. Will not do it. And you guys don't want that either, trust me. You don't want it. Either that or just hope that I'm really bad at the game. Because if any part of me feels that I can actually be decent at the game currently, that wouldn't bode well for future D4 streams. Like I kind of get hooked back into something I don't want to get hooked back into. Can play Warzone. I won't give the folks any money more. Today came out. They fired 1,100 more people for the holidays. Jeez. To die in the FPS. If I do one, I don't know if I would do like a mainstream FPS. So like I don't think I'll do any Call of Duty though. If I do a first person shooter, it'd be like probably a little less mainstream. Like I said, Remnant would be nice actually. Yeah, that's a horrible time to fire people, honestly. Did they at least get severance packages though? Not that that makes it like way better, but just out of curiosity. Like the look of the game Maxroll was playing, yeah. So like yeah, a J action RPG would be fine, but I think also J action RPG would be in the same realm as like Baldur's Gate, and the sense of it might take a while to kind of get going. For the amount of time that I'm allocating for a second game or a third game or a fourth game, etc. Darkside knows that if he plays SE2, I would never come back to the stream. The game is so different now too, though, versus when I would play or when I played. Now say in this new dog accent. I remember you asked, he's like read it with the what's this Snoop Dogg voiceover, I think it was. I'm a never champion former. Siege player, I tried so hard, I couldn't do it, but I'm super aggro. Yeah, like I said, I think Baldur's Gate 3 would be like something like, it'd be nice to binge, where I just like, if I didn't play any more Diablo at all until like the next season, you know, that's a game that would be nice to binge until then, you know, if I just chose to not. But I think, again, just kind of alternating between games, like let's say some Diablo and then some of this game, some of that game, I think that might just be too it'll just take too long to kind of really get into to the nitty-gritty of that game for it to be worth it, for me and the audience that's also watching. You know, fighting games are like instant gratification enjoyment in a sense, where it's like, you know, you don't have to really understand what's going on, but you can tell someone's kicking someone else's ass, right? You know, and it's easy to see, you know, from like the first few minutes of watching, you know, said game, right? Your main game is Warframe. Is it hey, get Street Fighter 6 maybe? I thought a couple of mates are blasting House Flipper too. I was reading up on like a bunch of different games that just came out, and I saw like reviews on that. I'm just like, what is this? Like, what is this? I gotta go this way. Oh, by the way, isn't there Hades too that's supposed to be coming out, or is it already out, or like Hades 2 is coming out, right? I never played the first one. I might think about messing with that for a bit. Should play the first one this week. When does Hades 2 come out? Or is it coming out? Or am I just like not remembering it correctly? Next year? Okay. Erie has been trying to get me to play Hades forever. Like forever and ever. The time frame in which he's been trying to get me to play has always been awful. But yeah. Q2 of next year. Last Epoch come out at February 20th. About that, wasn't it supposed to come out in December? Whatever happened to that? Like, just out of curiosity. I mean, I haven't been following it that close, but the last I heard, I thought it was supposed to come out in December. Or they're looking for like early December release date. Which actually would have been a perfect timing, actually. There's now on sale, but you get to go on sale for winter sale. What starts the 21st? The winter sale starts on the 21st. So do you think I should wait until the 21st to get it? That's what, Thursday? They have 1. They've had 1.0 on roadmap as February for last Epoch summer. There's a class preview due first week of January, but nothing was on the roadmap for December. I should know. Oh, okay. I probably misheard it then. I could have sworn that someone said December or something like that, and I was like, oh, okay. Say, yep, a week before your birthday. December 28th is your birthday. Frodon. Appreciate the follow. Happy early V-Day. You'll be out of state that day. This day you'll be on Twitch all day. You gonna do a 12-hour stream? Nice. Birthday streams. Birthday streams are always pretty cool. You can add Path of Exile 2 to your wish list now. I mean, I have every intent on trying Path of Exile 2 for sure. I like what I see combat wise, so I'm excited. you know how you know who I haven't seen in a long time, but doesn't stream anymore. And I kind of wonder what happened. Epic Death. What happened to Epic Death? For those who are also like used to watching, does anyone know? You're wait for D8. Tasa. It's just really weird that I still don't like the fact that they announced Diablo 5. Well, sorry, let me phrase that. They didn't announce Diablo 5, but they made a mention that we won't have to wait nearly as long for the next installment for the Diablo franchise. That just seems really awkward considering that D4 just came out. I'm not gonna pretend like I understand their structure of, you know, content and patches and how big the team is and, you know, what they can all like handle or not, but it just sounds bad, you know, because it just looks like, you know, I guess appears that you're not even, it makes it look like you're not even as serious about the current installment, that you're already talking about the next installment. You haven't even finished this installment. You know what I mean? It's just like, bruh. Like the first expansion wasn't even announced yet before you mentioned that, like, or before you made a soft mention that the next installment won't take as long, or won't be, you know, as many years in between. It's like the only way that can be true. The only way that can be true is if you've already started concepting it and like you know, like working on it, or even if it's just the loose concepts, you've already kind of like started plotting it. That's the only way that it's not going to take as long as the other games did, or the time frame in between. That's not good. That's not a good look, in my opinion. And again, I'm not going to pretend that I understand the structure of how they have all this set up and stuff, not, but it just doesn't make the rest of the player base feel comfortable when you say stuff like that. I think they wanted to say D5 would take less time than D3 or D4, but like the idea that like no one ever really, I'll put it this way, so like we don't assume a D5 is coming. Like when D4 just comes out, like no one's really thinking about D5 as a possibility. We're thinking, you know, with D4 being a live service game and how massive this team is and how much money they put into the, you know, the marketing, stuff like that, we, you know, player base is just assuming that D4 is kind of it for a bit, right? But so like no one's really thinking about D5 as a thing, but when you put that in people's ear as if it's not going to take as long between D3 to D4 and then D4, you know, from D4 to the next installment. The next installment is not an expansion. That's a new game. That's a D5 without saying D5. That's just, to me, that's just kind of awkward. Kind of really is. So it just makes it, and again, I say it again, I'm not going to pretend like I actually understand the dev timeline or how they go about things or how big the team is. I don't know. I can't. But looking at it from a player, you know, from outside looking as a player, it doesn't make the player base feel good about the fact that, you know, already your resources are divided onto a title, unannounced title, and we have so many, like, we have issues in this current game that needs to be addressed first, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? It's like, now I feel good. Oh, my dad was trying for into your flash drive. I don't know if that was their intent, but it makes it seem like they won't put all the effort into D4. That's That's the vibe that it puts out. And I'm not saying this that they won't put forth the effort in D4, but that's not the perception that gives off. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's true or not, you know, perception is a very strong thing. And you don't want to lead your player base into thinking that you don't care as much. You know what I'm saying? It's like that ain't cool. Even if it's not true, you don't want them to think that or give them any reason to think that. Or was he hinting at the team that got in hot water and had to hire entirely a new team? They definitely, you know, had changes, or they had changes in like leadership or whatnot. I don't know about anything past that point, but I do know, like, you know, the leadership, obviously the Joes being somewhat new in their roles, or newer in the roles that they took over. But I don't know much about the actual team itself. Or the only person that plays Destiny, but I feel the same way about them making Destiny 2. Like, there wasn't a reason to create another iteration. Just fix the one that you have. Yo, Sig, what's going on? What's up, Oxide? Well, I guess, you know, from a gamer standpoint, yeah, but I do think that, you know, from a business standpoint, well, I wouldn't even say from a business standpoint. You can just keep making expansions and like make money, right? Like, World of Warcraft has never had an actual sequel, right? World of Warcraft is still the original game, but just with a bunch of expansions, right? There is no World of Warcraft 2 or World of Warcraft 3. They just kept milking expansions, right? And even, like, you know, WoW Classic, you know, bringing back old, you know, like bringing back old expansions and redoing, you know, putting them in a different timeline, you know. But World of Warcraft 2 was never a thing. There was no World of Warcraft 3. It was just expansion after expansion after expansion, right? I'm not gonna sit there and say WoW didn't have its own problems, but yeah, I'm just figure I just throw that out there. D2 wasn't all that great before LOD. D3 was worse before its expansion. This just may be part of the Diablo brand. They've accepted it. That is kind of true. The game they end up turning it around, I guess you could say, at expansions. In terms of like the Diablo series, with the exception of Diablo 1, of course. But, you know, tech limitations, and obviously I don't think they were gonna ever have expansions for Diablo 1, but yeah. It's a way to charge millions of people $60 again. I think, but that's the thing though. Like, you can, but the thing about it is that I think it takes more effort and more time to create a new game to charge people $60 than just create an expansion and charge them $40, which requires a lot less resources to do. So I think they'd be more profitable off of expansions. But I think the only way they're going to be profitable off expansions is if the original game is relatively decent, right? You make a new game, then they think, oh, it's a clean slate, right? You know, it's not the previous game, which the previous game wasn't as great by, you know, like, viewer standpoint. So
we just
maybe
got
that's the reason why.
Son.
What up,
You know how we do. Drop my new beat for these new viewers. Sheezy out.
What is up, man?
Rated my stream with 35 viewers.
Do you want to have an expansion? Oh, okay, I did not know that. Appreciate your script. What's going on, man? You said I prefer the original tune. I like them both, but this one doesn't get me copyright struck on YouTube. So that's kind of why I went this route. A lot of people think Monk came from Diablo 3, but they're on. Remember that time Diablo had a playable bard class? Giving away glyph XP today. You're 44 on the glyph? Let's go, man. Almost 50, right? So how you doing, man? How you been? Oh, the new tune is lit. Bass go boom. It was hard to find like a good replacement, man, that I was like happy with. Took some searching and also some like pre-uploading just to make sure YouTube didn't get pissed off with it ahead of time. Royalty free music? Yeah, pretty much. It's actually a Diablo 2 remix. It's like a Diablo 2 song remix of something. But it's public domain, so I was able to use it. So it was actually part of a much longer tune that just happened to cut out into a sick beat like that for like 10 seconds or whatever. I'm like, oh, I can use this. Yeah, you got the 29 yesterday on the barb. Nice. It's a pretty big milestone compared to 19 for sure because of the HP bump. Saw Rob get the. Well, I didn't actually see him live do it, but I caught him after he did it. After he did the 25 earlier today, T25. We don't know Diablo 5 is coming out in 8 years. That's still faster than D3 to D4. That is accurate. Yeah, that's true. We don't, we don't know. My complete random guess would be about 6.5 years. I would say. If I had to like take a random guesstimate. Would I ever play Lost Ark? I actually did. When it first came out. Well, sorry, let me phrase that. When it first came out to the American, like the rest of the world, without VPN and all that other stuff. I did play February 2022, I think it was. That's when it came out. Oh, that was so bad on me. I legit just like watched them mollywopp me. Legit just didn't even try. Yeah, but I actually did, and that's how I ended up losing one of my really good friends to that game because he didn't even want to play, and I convinced him to play. I was like, bro, let's try it, kind of thing. And like I think I played it for about a month, and then you know, I kind of stopped, but he kept going, and he didn't even want to play, and now he's hooked to the game, and I can't get him to not play Lost Ark now. But it's kind of hard to play like Lost Ark right now. Like it's hard to play other grind games at the same time. That's why, like when I was talking about like, you know, playing a second game, something that's like kind of quick to kind of get into and play is usually preferred, just simply because there's just not enough time for me to grind an additional game alongside Diablo 4 in a sense. That's kind of what it is. Like if I play Lost Ark, I have to give up playing Diablo 4. I just won't have time to do both. On like a semi-serious or, you know, manner. Now, if I was a full-time content creator, different story, you know, but oof. You said just don't sleep. I don't sleep now. People get in my case now. I don't sleep. Nah, but like especially like a Lost Ark where I'd have to spend an insane amount of hours to get the things I want to get without, you know, paying for better chances to get it. And of course, you know, as a teacher, I just don't have that kind of spending money, I guess you could say, for something like that. What about Monster Hunter? I do want to play some Monster Hunter Rise. Is it Rise or?
Yo, Dark Side.
Yeah,
we just got
man?
raided, son.
Let me see if I can get away.
You know how we do. Drop my new beat for these new viewers. Sheezy out.
Drizzy, what's going on, man? What's happening,
Drizzy
man?
raided my
Appreciate the raid.
with 9 views.
It's the normal dude trying to vibe. I feel you, man. Did I ever play Dauntless? I actually did play Dauntless for a little bit. I actually did play a lot of Monster Hunter World at a time for it, or at a time. I played. You know what's funny? I played Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak actually for like 2 days, and the reason why I played it for those 2 days was because I was gonna play that until the next Diablo 3 season, you know, PTR dropped or whatever, because I was like, you know, a little bored of the current season at the time. And literally that, like, what was it? I think it was like a Monday, because I downloaded the game on Saturday, and like legit that Monday they announced a PTR patch or whatever for D3. I'm just like, oh crap, really? Like seriously? So I actually still have the game. I just didn't really have time to play it or whatever. But yeah. Appreciate the follow, man. Yeah, Dauntless was fun. I played it when it first came out. So you play 2.5k hours of both World and Rise Sunbreak. So if I was to play some Sunbreak, you have to help me, Peachy. Loot vendor, appreciate the follow. You hear they brought back their IP from the company that purchased them out. Total revamp coming next year. Of what game? Dauntless? Nice. Nice, very nice. I used to watch a lot of Odo? Is it Odo was his name? Content creator? Like really popular Dauntless creator. What tier am I doing? Nothing, man. Nothing fancy. This is just T4. I'm not using any like bugged or bug builds or snapshotting or anything. So this is literally what I guess a rogue looks like without any of the other stuff. I just want to do something different. I didn't want to do any like skill swap, gear swap, or to boss will rogue stuff. So I'm like, you know what? Let's play without. So this is just a T4, that's it. They just repolished the engine this past Thursday. Was it? Can you describe what it feels like compared to what it used to feel like? Yeah, I thought it felt fine before when I played or when I was playing. I didn't really play, like, I think I probably put in like maybe 300-ish hours of Dauntless. I couldn't really find like people to like play with per se, and I was getting tired of like just doing the solo queues or queuing randoms. So I was just like, eh. But this was also early days Dauntless, you know. I'm sure much has changed since then. Valheim. Yeah. There's just T4, but like the kill speed versus the, you know, damage and, you know, or incoming damage. Like, if I'm really paying attention, like, I generally won't get hit much at all with this. Everything outside of close quarters combat is kind of exactly how I would want to play this. I'd rather play this with like precision or victimize, but yeah, they both are awful. So if I never had to actually jump in except for suppressors, I would almost never get hit. I'm not playing the build as given on Maxroll. The skills are very close, but the gearing is a little different. Because of course there's no Toboss Will, so I have Temerities here. Took out the Doombringer. I added Conceited Aspect for more damage. For when I have my barrier up, I'm running Forceful Arrow instead of Puncture. But yo, another raid.
Dark side.
What's going on, man? Let's see if I can jump out into the dance.
You know how we do. Drop my new beat for these new viewers.
Got him.
Cheesy.
Ow. What is up, man?
Pandaglass aided my stream with 10 views.
Yeah, that's like about at least what six raiders today, probably today. Appreciate y'all. You didn't catch the response, Crypsis? So no. So basically, all I did was I kind of took the rapid fire build, but I stripped all of the bugged interactions. So like there's no Toboss Will. Primarily the only thing that was bugged in the build itself. But I'm also not doing any snapshotting of any sort. I'm just playing as is for the most part, and like nothing wrong with it. I just kind of like after playing with bug setups for so long, I just kind of want to know what it feels like to play a rogue without the said bugs, or what it feels like to play with other skills other than like puncture, or relying on the proc and praying that I get my 22 combo points right. Something a little bit more consistent. So. But mainly, I just want to, play with other things that I may find more fun. But technically speaking, AOZ at the end of the day, when you really think about it, the difference between doing like a T1 and a T20 is just more damage, more health and damage, right? So a build that's hard in T4 would feel the same as a build that's hard in T20. It's just because the mechanics are no different. So when I remember that, I won't say remember that, but when I really thought about it again, I'm just like, oh, well, then I'll just, if I don't really want to push any more AOZ at the moment, then why not just play what I find fun? And I find this playstyle way more fun. Heck yeah, everyone loves interested in shit. Thanks, dude. How the difference between Toboss Will and without it? Oh, it's a pretty massive power difference. Like my crit numbers, hover around like the low 1 mil to 1 mil range, 2 mil range. Sometimes I'll see a 3 mil crit if I'm doing like cold imbuement. Whereas with Toboss Will, I have way more arrows, 20 more arrows, and they're critting for like 7 or 8 mil, or in the case of cold imbuement with the snapshotting and cold imbuement and stuff like that, I'd be critting for like 16, 17 mil per arrow. At the end of the day, it is a game and fun is the goal. Survivability seems cool. Temerity. It's actually not that bad considering I'm also not running Doombringer. So I took out Doombringer because I'm not really getting hit as much. And if I am getting hit by stray stuff that I could have dodged, is, you know, I definitely just, you know, not paying attention or whatever. But I kind of like the idea of being able to play a bit distant. I don't really want to use close quarters combat though. Truly, the way I would want to play this is with like Victimize, where I never have to jump in. I can literally just stay back and just fire stutter step or whatever like that, unless I'm in this, you know, suppressor bubble thing or whatever. I thought Victim equal fun. Yeah, if that was the case, I'm totally playing the wrong class. Absolutely the wrong class. Yeah, I know what you meant. I got you. Yeah, personally, I wasn't sure why you didn't just farm T9s, T14s with rapid fire. I could, but if I'm doing that with no goal, because at that point I probably still didn't want to really push anyways if I was doing T9s or T14s, why not farm the same exact content, I guess, roughly, but with a setup that I would enjoy playing more. Not saying I didn't enjoy rapid fire for what it was. I just don't want to snapshot and whatnot anymore. Even in the farming stuff, especially like T9s and T14s, I will have to snapshot. There's no way around it. I also was kind of getting a little tired of like stuff proccing and not proccing. Like, it gets annoying when like your damage is very spiky because you didn't get the you know, the full 22 combo points or whatever because, you know, RNG. So I wanted something that was a little bit more consistent to play. So for one, Force for Arrow is way more fun than Puncture with rapid fire, in my opinion. Two, I get to play with the bow. Bow looks way more awesome. Three, I don't have to snapshot anything at the beginning of a, you know, dungeon. And four, my damage, while way lower than the boss will version, my damage is very consistent. And T4 feels exactly like T9. So T4 on this feels like T9 with Tabalts, which accomplishes the exact same thing, and that is killing things, right? Except this way, I have more fun doing it. It's better to play in a way that means something you're rare than what that means to others. It's more so the fact that, like, you know, I guess it would have made sense to me to do kind of like what Riptide said. I guess if I was trying to push or trying to actually level up the glyph and I cared about the glyph, then yeah, I would just do the 14s with rapid fire or whatever. But since I'm no longer interested in that, then there's no reason to play a variation or a set or a build that won't give me more fun factor, if that makes sense, right? Like the mobs and everything are the exact same. If I turn my number, I'll put it this way: if I turn my numbers off, right? If I turn the damage numbers off, and I'm in the AOZ, and you didn't see the key I keyed in, you would have no idea what rift I was in, no dungeon I was in. It could be a T1, it could be a, you know, T9, it could be a T13, it can be, you don't know, you have no idea, right? Why? Because nothing changes. It's just damage and health at the end of the day. The mobs don't do anything different. They don't like have extra fixes. So, yeah. And the moment I kind of remembered that, I'm just like, bro, why don't I just play things I want to play? Even if it is close quarters combat, which I don't want to use, it's still refreshing to play like this. Look at that bow transmog. Look at that bow transmog. Bow transmog's tight. Bone Spear is super fun though, but tough in AOZ compared to Chorus Explosion or to Chorus. But bro, yeah, anytime you get dudes, Bone Spear, Suppressor especially, man. You want me over with the damage numbers off? I'm just saying though, like, you know, like, so like, you know, something can appear hard to can be just as hard to a build that's nowhere near as powerful on like a lower AOZ, and it'd be the same challenge. In terms of farming or pushing or whatever you're doing with that said build, right? And by the way, I fought the Butcher. So in like T100, right? Like I don't instant give the Butcher in T100 Nightmare Dungeons, right? Because obviously, you know, it's not going to really happen without Tabas will. Outside of Poison TV, I'll put it that way. So I fought the Butcher yesterday with this, and it was actually a fun fight because it took me about 45 seconds to you know, kill the Butcher, or, you know, a little longer than that. But he won because I ran out of health pots. But there was also the lightning dome. So every single time that the lightning dome would come in, I had to like get underneath it, and he was able to get a few pog shots on me every time. So I was like, all right, Butcher, you know, rematch. You know, you won't have the lightning dome next time when we had a rematch, right? So we had a rematch today, right? And like the Butcher like barely ever touched me the entire time. I mean, it still took me about a good minute, to kill him, but like he was nowhere near beating me. It was a fun fight. It was actually like a fun fight because I actually had to fight the Butcher, which is fun when you have to actually play the mechanics and the outer worlds type of things. And you kind of forget that. Like we kind of forget it because, you know, there's just a lot of power creep in the game in the forms of many different things. So I guess all I'm saying is, you know, trying to enjoy the game in a different light without the additional power creep from bugs or snapshotting or, you know, those kind of things. Other than that, you know, there's no point I'm trying to prove or anything. This is literally just fun factor. Should have fight T100 Butcher and thought it'd be easy. You one tap. What am I up to? Honestly, nothing. Legit nothing. I'm not farming for anything. I'm not grinding for anything. I'm literally I logged in, playing this particular build, and I'm just killing things. That is the goal. For me to pew pew and things die while I talk to you guys. That is it. It is actually pretty pretty relaxing, believe it or not. Can you tell me rogues don't use overpower? Like why they don't? We don't have anything that scales well with overpower, that's why. Like barbs have things that scale with overpower, and so does druids. And necros to an extent as well if they want. But we just don't have anything that just scales well enough with overpower to really build around it. Doesn't matter how many demons you kill, they keep coming back. I know, man, that's a problem. I don't know what's going on, man. I'm supposed to be the hero of Sanctuary, and for whatever strange reason, they just I never finished the job. Never finished the job. The job is never finished. Oh god. Oh god. Yeah. A lot happened in that window. Like I ticked a bunch of ticks happened in like a half a second. I can't even pinpoint exactly what it was that killed me. Good mentality to have. Seen people doing everything they can to skip playing the game to a point where I wonder why I even play. And like I don't you know, and not, you know, nothing against that by any means. I mean, I know why, you know, do it. I guess right now, this is my bow once. This is my bow. And make sure I'm not like close to anything. I think the thing is that like Abattoir Azir is really the only remotely competitive thing we have or challenging thing we have in the game. So there is that want for competitive players to really like do everything you can to remain competitive or be competitive. Sometimes it means doing things you don't really want to do because the game allows those things to happen. Like glyph boosting is one of them, you know, like those kind of things. You know, snapshotting, changing your skills mid rift towards the end of the rift. You know, changing all these different things. You know, changing your vampiric powers towards the end. Like, I don't think a lot of people like doing that. I don't think that's a concept people actually like a lot. I think people do it because it's the way you have to progress in AOZ, and since it's the only like competitive content that like we have kind of, or third-party competitive content, Maxroll leaderboards, etc. Then it's like, well, I won't have anything else to do in the game if I don't compete in this, or I don't try in this game mode, right? So we kind of tend to deal with the BS in AOZ because it's all we have. And you know exactly where we see this a lot at? Diablo 3 and Greater Rift pushing. Greater Rift pushing has always been a lot of problems with that activity, but it's the only end game that Diablo 3 has, so we deal with it, right? Just hoping, I was wishing that D4 doesn't fall down the same path, but this is just kind of test content, so it's okay that things aren't that there are problems and stuff, and they can reiterate this back in the future. But yeah, so I think at the moment it's just people just they want to it's the only thing you can really be competitive at, so you do what you got, you do what you got to do. And I was kind of in that category for a little bit too. Like, I mean, I tried for a little bit, but I tried to take one build as far as I could go. Then I switched to pin shot rapid fire to play a more meta setup, and I realized how much fun I wasn't having just to do higher tiers of the same exact mobs, the same exact elite fixes, the same exact bloodseekers, and I'm asking myself, am I really having fun with this? And the answer was no. So I thought to myself, well, why am I doing this? And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, do I have anything to prove to anybody? And it's like, no. All right, so I'm like, well, why don't I do something I find fun? And lo and behold, this is what I came up with. So, little lost. I think that answers your question. Especially since I'll be playing D3 Season 30 when that comes out, and I'm gonna be doing pushing there. I feel like I don't really want to burn myself out on the how you have to push in this game before I actually push in Diablo 3. Because I'm gonna be doing the same thing in Diablo 3 pretty soon. It's like, well, and I enjoy pushing a little bit more there than I do here. But to be fair, D3 had years and years to, make, leaderboard pushing a little more feasible and manageable. Whereas this is Diablo 4's first iteration of anything like that. So. Ever seen a perfect Banished Lords? No. I don't. I salvage all the ones I see. So if it drops, I just salvage it immediately. I'm a rogue. I don't really care for it. I think it depends on each one of us. I did enjoy a lot of pushing and back in D3. I'll be trying to push AOZ if there's an official ladder. That's fair, yeah. I can see that too as well. Yeah. I can't imagine with the state that the game is in. And of course the state that AOZ is in, that that a ladder would ever be a thing for this. But if it was in a better state and the game was a bit more balanced around actual class power instead of the power of said unintended bugs or whatever like that, I personally probably will have a little bit more fun with it, because as you can tell, AOZ was balanced around the absolute strongest builds that had things that weren't supposed to work attached to them. Ball lightning's bugged is way further than any other sort build possible in AOZ, right? So it's kind of it's like AOZ was designed for the grind of playing bugged builds into AOZ per se. The power scaling of AOZ was designed for stuff like that versus being designed for how builds are supposed to work. The only thing that's even remotely close to that would be, or that isn't bugged per se, is Hoda, right? Hoda, Whirlwind, whatnot. But of course, that's just overpowered, just being incredibly overtuned. But yeah, the content was tuned for that, and not the classes as a whole. Which is why you see Druids struggling quite a bit. You see Necros struggling for quite a bit, because they don't have as many bugs they can do. Right? So, it's just basically unless you're a Hoda Barb, the further you can push will be determined on how I'm gonna say be determined, but it's the baseline is how many bugs can you abuse. I won't say abuse, but how many bugs can you use, or that that's attached to your build that's gonna make your build stronger to be able to push said content, which is awful to think about. The Hoda thing is not bugs, no. Ball lightning is doing unintended amount of damage for sure. That's been proven, but it's no. But Hoda is the only one that's now I don't really know if the whole whirlwind Hoda thing isn't that the way that's working is intentional. I don't know. I really don't know. There's no information or even hidden information about that per se. But Hoda itself is working as intended. It's just that they vastly overtune the overpower damage in general, just like in general. But that's not a bug. That's just, you know, you're like, oh, we overdid it. We overshot the the overpower balance for sure. The point being is that like when you have content that's balanced around those two builds, it just seems really awkward. You know what I'm saying? Barbs have considerable more advantages than any other class because they can just do more. They can level their glyph faster. They can, you know, you can run immortal routes, immortal builds. Same thing with Sork. Not all classes can run immortal builds. You see what I'm saying? There's just such a huge discrepancy there that, you know, leveling your glyph is just vastly unfair at the end of the day, right? I mean, the solution is play a bard at the end of the day. Like, if you're really serious about it, the solution is play a bard. Right. Hi, I never played Diablo. Is this game worth it for a new player or a lot to learn? I played only Godfall 3 for years. I played Godfall actually for a little bit. If you like action RPGs, I think you would. I think you would enjoy Diablo. I don't think it's a hard game to learn. I do think that there are tooltips that don't work like they say they do, and that's more common than in my opinion, I feel like it should be. But I think the game is simple enough to understand to where you can get into and just, you know, kill demons, fight demons, and, like, you know, be all right. Ball lightning still leads away from Hoda though. Yeah, that's true. That is true. How high can I comfortably play the rogue? I mean, if I went back to playing pin shot, rapid fire, you know, the whole setup and everything, I mean, probably T17, maybe T18 if I like really like threw like 100 or something keys at it. 200, that's actually probably more than that. I would need like an almost perfect scenario to do an 18 at my glyph level. So yeah, it'll be like only play spiders, obviously. That's just the nature of pin shot, rapid fire. Only play open maps. Pray that the elite affixes are doable or not as dangerous. Pray that the Bloodseekers are not as dangerous with, you know, decent affixes that doesn't like, you know, cuck my build. Also, I need to make sure that the servers lag enough each time with Death Trap to make sure I get enough of the big boom to get the damage that I need to be able to clear, which is RNG on its own. So a lot of factors kind of have to go into, you know, clears like that. It's not a matter of just going into a high level, you know, AOZ and just go, I'm gonna clear this. You know, you need the stars to align for you. And some builds you need more stars to align than others, which also creates a different set of imbalances between the classes and builds. But that's a whole nother thing. I'm not gonna bore you guys with all that. Dr. Dino is, and of course, if they weren't bugs, they meant are locking your character or dominate executing your character because you got CC'd. Yeah. Could you imagine what you start up ball light, hold up with ball lightning? You wouldn't be able to play the game. You would just lag out. you would just lag out. You would never be able to play. I think it's pretty expected these days to rely on guys to play games. Even BG3 just threw you right in there. Oh, sorry. I said Miss Pentaglass, Jaw's response. It would be much better if 1 to 15 was accessible to all builds. 15 to 20, you need better build, and 21 plus, you need the, Uber lineup and super meta. And Blizzard math, for sure, gate the majority of players before 10 makes sense. Actually, the gate was much lower than that, right? Initially, the gate was pretty much at 1 for a good chunk of the player base, right? Initially, they just changed it to 10, afterwards. But the thing about it is, I mean, you will always have you will always have meta builds. You always have builds that are a little stronger than others. What I don't like is the huge discrepancy of, or the discrepancy of said thing. Like, I have no problems. I have no issues with Barbs being the best class, bar none. They're the best class. They're the best class. All good. Not hating, nothing like that. I'm glad Barbs are enjoying what they are. I do think it's rather silly that Barbs are that far ahead of every other class. Being better than other classes is one thing. When you curb stomp all the other classes in terms of like ability to do AOZ, that's just awful. Because yeah, it's yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not Barb's fault, obviously. I'm not blaming Barbs or Bar players and whatnot. It's just like those things are just that discrepancy is just too large. I'd be fine with Rogues being the weakest class, just as long as like the weakest class being is like maybe 3 or 4 tiers below, a different class or something like that. Like that, that's fine. Like between the lowest and the highest class. But when you got like, a class that's like 10 plus, 15 plus tiers ahead, that's awful. But like within 3 tiers would be fine. That's like, all right, that's fair. You can't get it perfect, but 3 tiers is like acceptable. Because then at least everybody can like, be able to, if they want solo or group or whatever, be able to level their glyph and have a shot at being able to get it to a pretty decent level, with similar amount of time played versus, let's say, trying to level your glyph on a druid to 50 is much more difficult than trying to level your glyph to 50 on a barb. It's just like the difference is staggering. It's like staggering, you know what I mean? Oof. Ow. That was a bad shadow step. They gave you something to do with that gear. The only issue I have, like, I guess the primary thing I have with that is don't sponsor a third party, you know, leaderboard competition if that's your, if that's what you're gonna do. Like if that's your take on it. Not your take, sorry. If that's Blizzard's take on it per se, and you know there's huge imbalances, then don't sponsor a third party leaderboard event. For prizes. Oh, I survived that little Banshee shot. Or Wraith shot, actually. That little Wraith attack. Barely, but I survived it. Cripsis, appreciate the sub. Thanks, dude. You think the biggest problem with AOZ is sigil cost? I think learning new content like this, appreciate the follow. New content like this where the damage numbers and the incoming damage and the type of damage we take, you know, and the fact that we're probably dealing with more release than we're used to dealing with at higher healths. I think the whole, like, you know, only having one chance to die kind of thing kind of feels, I guess to me, I don't think that's a problem as long as you're dying because it's you made a bad decision within the dungeon. You know, when there's invisible one-shots, invisible hits that hit extremely hard that you can't react to, but you only have one death, and then we have invisible afflictions, so we don't even know what the mob's afflictions are, if they have extra damage to this, extra damage to that, so it's impossible to know exactly how to, like, tailor your character for the level that you're playing because it changes every rift, every tier or whatever, right? I think that is just like, it's a bit unreasonable expectation. I said my biggest gripe is just one shot. The possible one shot mechanics that exists. And it's funny because I was talking to Zario earlier because like Zario was mentioning how he like got every single damage reduction he possibly could on chess, you know, amulet. He got a new amulet with damage versus distance, damage versus close. Took every single like life node on the Paragon node to get 29k life, a little over 29k life. And like while he was definitely more tanky and the one shots were less, he still had situations where he was getting one shot and he had every single damage reduction taken everywhere. And it's just kind of like, that's just, I just think that that's just silly. Because then at that point, you can't even gear check it because the gear check isn't working fully. How do you gear stronger than what you geared for? Yeah, the one thing you get checked, one shot of bias telegraph abilities. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think, you know, there are people who have built that tough that still do get one shotted by things they can't see. Like I think I don't know if that's I don't think that that's the way that anything in any game, like whether it's action RPG or anything like that, like getting hit that hard by something you can't react to, you know, regardless of the amount of damage reduction you got, whether you have a bunch of it or none of it or whatever like that. Like if you have none of it, obviously, okay, that's fair. But like, I mean, if you got 8 or 9 sources of damage reduction and you have full life everywhere and you can still possibly get one shot by mechanics you can't avoid, that's bad. That's just bad game design. There's no one enjoys that. I can't imagine someone getting excited, bro, I can't wait to get one shot in this rip, you know, while having every damage reduction I possibly could get. Right? Like, but one shot is that wasn't telegraphed. I mean, he legit just said that he still gets one shot by things that you can't avoid. And he has all the right toughness stuff too. Sometimes it happens because you don't know what afflictions are in the rift. There could be armor breakers. There could be, you know, resist whatever. It's like you don't really know. So it's like how it's impossible to be like, well, one person doesn't, you know, haven't gotten one shot in a while, but someone else did, you know, a couple of times, but you don't know what afflictions that you've gotten in the rift. So how do you know? You just don't know. Ryan, what's up on YouTube, right? So it's like until we have actual concrete, you know, be able to be like, oh, these afflictions are these, and this is why it's happening. You have no idea. Now, big telegraph attacks should is okay. You know, big telegraph attacks one-shotting you, you know, or, you know, knocking you out. Okay, that's fair. Because at that point, that's a skill check rather than a pure gear check, right? You sat there, you got hit by it, and, well, you die. Kind of thing. That's a little more fair in the content like this. Anything that can one-shot you invisibly that you can't see or humanly react to, honestly, should never be a part of the game. Period. Anything that is telegraphed that you die to, that has a big enough telegraph, makes sense. If you get one shot by an invisible mechanic you didn't see or cannot humanly react to, arsonist you can react to. I think that the telegraph should be bigger, but it is reactable. So the amount of time that you have to get away from it is fine. I think the visual is not fine. I think for the amount of damage it does, the visual needs to be bigger. He actually died to a shot that actually didn't even hit him. Believe it or not. He showed me, no, he died. He says there are instances where he's died with that much damage reduction from something he could not react to. Then he showed me a LOL clip of him getting hit by a shot off screen that it looked like didn't hit him, but the server said it did, and he got one-shotted while having 29k health. And every damage reduction thing you could have possibly taken. And it's like, dude. Well, that is AOZ. Is there the stuff like that you know is rare? Well, I mean, I think that also kind of depends, though, right? I don't know if you can just use your experience as like the norm. It doesn't happen to me, so it's not a problem. I don't know if that's like or it doesn't happen to me that often, so it's not a problem for anyone else. Like that's not really. I don't know if that's a fair assessment, considering, like, I put it this way. So like if you kill something before they kill you, right? Like Bloodseekers, for example, right? Let's say Sork Bloodseekers or like that. Sork Bloodseekers. I got stun locked. I got CC'd. CC locked. Is it like that? Well, I mean, that was that was my fault. That's not in the realm of what I'm talking about. But like that one was my fault. Like I know what I could have did to kind of avoid that. I just chose not to. You don't have many what the fuck deaths. The point is that those WTF deaths shouldn't exist, period. They shouldn't. They shouldn't exist out of the player's control, period. It doesn't matter how many you have. If it's one, if it's 50, bajillion WTF deaths, it should not be a thing. If you cannot react to it, it should not be a thing. Period. That's literally the only point I'm making about it. That shouldn't. It just should not be a thing. We had what was it, Sarah, I think. She submitted a clip where legit nothing was around. Not a single thing was around her. We were analyzing the clip on her sword. Not a single thing was around her before the Bloodseeker spawned, and she procced. You said overall it doesn't happen enough for you to say, oh, that's AOZ. That also just depends on the way you play AOZ, though. Let's say if you're just farming the majority of the time, if you're killing things before they have the ability to one-shot you, or you kill them before any of that can happen, then yeah, you're probably going to experience that less. Right? If you're pushing more often, it's highly likely you would experience that more because the mobs have more health. So naturally, there's more opportunities for those mechanics to exist. So if a person plays AOZ tier 1 all day, they may never see it. But then just because that one person played T1 AOZ for like 5,000 hours doesn't mean that he said, oh, well, I played AOZ tier 1 for 5,000 hours. I never got one-shotted. Obviously, that's your problem. That's your problem. It's like that's not a good example. You know what I mean? Yeah, you play AOZ T4, yeah, but you're speed running it. There's no difference between you speed running a T14 and someone speed running a T1 if it takes you like 4 to 5 minutes to clear, right? Thus, therefore, you're lessening the opportunities for you to do that. The one shots will happen because you're speed running. Doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means that, you know. Oof. I probably shouldn't have shouted stuff like that. But I will say that, you know, one person's experience is not indicative of a wide variety of player experiences. If it was skill based, I would say so. I would be like, okay, that's a skill based. That's just people just not playing better, right? If it's something you cannot avoid or react to, then that's a different. Then we need more than we need more people saying that per se. But 99% of players will play it again. And in most cases, I would agree with you. I will say in this case scenario, it is pretty bad game design though. You should never have any WTF deaths by something you cannot control. Like 0% control. Like there's absolutely zero that the player can do. Should never exist. And that is bad game design, right? Now, whether you can find ways to deal with it is a different story, but it doesn't mean that it's not bad game design. And so players have every right to complain about something that is literal bad game design, no matter how good of a player you are, no matter what your gear looks like, no matter what class you play. That's like saying barbs don't get one shot because they have Salig, right? So that means it's okay, right? You can't change design so you deal with it the only way I can. Right. And I understand that. And you're doing a great job with it. But you can't say it's someone else's fault because they don't want to deal with that. You come at players saying it's their fault that it's bad game design. That puts people off, honestly. How's it bad game design the player's fault? That's the only thing I really honestly disagree with you on. Just that point. Because I think we understand, or we're saying some of the same things. But because you're willing to deal with it, that everyone else should be willing to deal with it. I don't know if it's a good argument. It's like a good argument there. We have to kind of, in my opinion, I think we need to just point out, it's bad game design. Hopefully they look at this and go, okay, yeah, let's do something different with it. But I would never pin that on the player for bad game design. Now, if you're getting hit by something that's telegraphed for 5 seconds, then yes, at that point, yeah, I'll put that on the player for sure. Because the game tells you, hey, bro, like, give you a big flashing sign. You're about to die in 5 seconds. Right? And then if you go, well, I'm not going to move. Screw that. I don't believe you. And then it kills you. And you complain. Well, at that point, it's going to be like, yeah, that's on the player. Because the game told you to move. It told you to move. It's their fault for choosing not to deal with it. Let's rephrase it this way, Ritai. Let's rephrase it this way. How many people do you think have hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of hours to deal with it? To deal with bad game mechanics? The only way you can even remotely deal with most of the one-shots, not all, most of the one-shots, is if you, A, play a barb or a sork, or 2, spend hundreds upon hundreds of hours making sure you have near perfect gear to deal with it. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't grind or shouldn't spend hours, spend hours to do well in AOZ. I'm not saying that at all. But I don't think that, or in my opinion, I think it's the player's fault for not spending hundreds of hours to find the perfect gear. To deal with bad gameplay mechanics is really not a good way to go about that. Not everybody has that amount of free time to spend to deal with Blizzard's BS in AOZ. So for some players, it may not be a choice because maybe they don't have that time right now. Right? Yes, but work at it, Riptide, when it's in your ability, when you have control over it. You have control over your gains and things for deadlifting. We don't have control over unavoidable one shots or or death mechanics. There is no control over that. Deadlift, you working at it, that's working at it. You have control over that. You didn't randomly stumble upon being able to lift 700 pounds just because you went to the gym for 100 hours. That you worked at it, right? That's not random. That's not luck. You worked at it, right? So you can use this example. Getting perfect gear or even getting a Doombringer to drop for some people who spent the same amount of hours that you did may not have gotten that. So that's luck. You can't say, hey guy, it is your fault because the Doombringer didn't drop after you did Duriel for 800 runs. How is that a player's fault for not having enough of the said stat that they probably let's say, what if they spent the exact same amount of hours you did playing the game and they didn't get the gear that you got? Is it still their fault? Or the gear necessary to avoid most BS one-shot mechanics, is it still their fault? You see what I'm saying? I don't know if we can compare deadlifting the same way. You had to work at it. You didn't get lucky. It's not random RNG. You worked at it, right? If that's all it took, I will have a different perspective. That's like saying getting one, you didn't get lucky at getting a Doombringer. Mathematically, you was very unlucky. Well, again, but if it's not the same mods for every player, then not everyone's on this. It's not on the equal playing field. So when we say it's your fault for not dealing with something, you're assuming that everybody's on the same equal playing field. And with RNG being RNG, everyone's not on the same equal playing field. And that's just natural, right? If something has a 2% chance to drop for one person and 2% chance to drop for someone else, it's not it's the only equal playing field is the percent chance. You say you can't go get a drink out there. Well, that's getting a drink after has nothing to do with deadlift. That's a choice, right? You control that. Because of what you want to do, that's the choice that you made, right? I didn't win the lottery. Can I continue to live? I'm unlucky already. But I think that's the part I disagree with. I would never blame the player base for not wanting to deal with mechanics, with bad game design. I don't know. I mean, I deal with bad games design all the time, but I choose to. Yeah, you understand they don't want to deal with it. Go play another game. Okay. But is it their fault? I guess is my thought. Is their fault because it's happening in the game? I guess is the part that I disagree with. It's their fault that Blizzard's bad game design is creating an experience that should not happen. It is the player's fault. Eventually, that's what happens to Riptide. People stop playing. right? It's like, I don't want to play anymore. I don't want to do this anymore because it's awful. But I think people have a right to complain about it, right? It's bad game design. You agree it's bad game design. Other people agree it's bad game design. Thus, people don't play it. You're right. They play another game. But I would never tell them it's their fault. Ever. I would never tell them unavoidable mechanics is their fault. That it happens. That it just happens, period. Bad RNG is not the player's fault. Failing to prepare is, however. And I think that's a loose end though, I think, Ryan, for sure. Because at some point in the game that essentially does become a gear check, it does kind of come down to luck. You can prepare as much as you like. Some people will have awful luck, some people will have great luck. So everyone's preparation will, at the end of the day, be a little bit different, right? What a train wreck. Now, of course, you know, I don't believe that, but with that being said, Riptide, I do exactly what you said. Right? I don't want to deal in the pushing aspect. In farming, I don't really too much care, but in pushing, take me for example, and I pick up rares even though they can be upgrades. I doubt many people approach D4 like me for the time I spent and didn't get the result that you wanted. I mean, all right. I don't disagree, but that has nothing to do with, zero to do with bad game design becoming the player's fault. If they experience bad game design, it is their fault. That's the only thing I'm arguing. Everything else I actually agree with you on, mostly. Except that. Like, I'll give you an example though. Like an example, you were asking me earlier, right? Actually, no, never mind. That's actually not a good example. Scratch that. Never mind. that wouldn't have made sense. Like a lot of people can be done. Yeah. So I guess another way of looking at it too as well is that, like, I don't think people should want to deal with it. I mean, some people want to deal with it. Like in your case, Riptide, you deal with it and you want to deal with it, right? Like you want to deal with it, you'll find a way to deal with it, even if it means going to extremes to deal with that thing. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine, right? That's your way of getting around as much of the BS as you possibly can. But dealing with it because you want to deal with it doesn't make it fine for game design, which you agreed, right? You agreed. But I would never fault someone else for not wanting to deal with what I chose to deal with. Because in reality, it is on the game developers to create good game design, decisions. It's not up to the player to just forcefully deal with them in extreme ways. I put it that way. Know what I'm saying? That's all. That is all I'm saying. I'm not gonna fault the players for Blizzard dropping the ball. No, I didn't fault you. I was saying that's the way that you wanted to approach the game is what I said. That you wanted to approach the game where you wanted to have every single piece with, Maxroll, like near Maxroll stats, right? And all I was saying is the game doesn't require that. So you can do everything in the game that you want without the need to do that. Right? And AOZ is a little bit different because there are certain things you cannot do or there are problems, there are big problems that interrupts your ability to do certain things because of bad game design. For what's currently there, I mean, no. So Riptide's example is that he has all the gold in the world, right, to reroll an item, but he doesn't have enough souls. I got stuck on this little like thing right here. You see this little like thing right here? I was trying to move to keep moving, and like my character got stuck on that little like a little ridge. I gotta pay attention to that. No. So like Crips is like, yeah, Riptide is like a what you would call like an extreme min-maxer. Like it can't just roll crit chance. It's gotta roll like in the top 1% of crit chances. And if it doesn't, the item isn't really that good. But it's gonna cost you a lot of mass to do it. Right? And to be fair, he's not wrong in saying that there is that was it Souls? That Souls is not like Souls is a bottleneck. I think Souls being a bottleneck is fine. I do think that we should have a little bit more access, or the match should be a little bit more balanced, so that the souls shouldn't be a massive bottleneck. What I was saying to him, I'm just like, is that for the ultra min max, you're going to run out of a material at some point. Nah, Riptide's not buying gold. Do plays a hell of a lot. It's easy to get gold when you play a lot. Also trade. Oh no, he's farming. He's farming. It's just that the biggest problem in Helltide, the fact that Forgotten Souls are pretty much only massively farmed in Helltide is a problem. In the sense that Helltide is time gated, so your maps are time gated. I think he doesn't really want to do Helltide all the time for Forgotten Souls. If he can get it other places, he would prefer that. Helltide is the ultimate way to get it, but I do think that because Helltide is timed, that you're time gated with your maps currently, and that is why the Forgotten Souls bottleneck is so bad compared to anything else you possibly can have, because Helltide is not always up. You know what I mean? So you're time gated by that, and that's awful. And I agree. You know, when next season comes, when Helltide is available 100% of the time, that is a good fix for that. Bro, I'm just playing bad now. Ryan says that is a fun part, in my opinion, taking a game to find new things that work or things that don't. Essentially, to what RNG games are all about. Hey, you're not wrong, Ryan. You're not wrong, Ryan. But when the RNG gates you from doing certain things in the game, that becomes pretty bad. Ryan is on YouTube. Ryan Terrace is on YouTube. Sorry, I'm responding to YouTube chat and Twitch chat, but I don't have it combined because Twitch doesn't really allow us to, or says that we can't. And some big streamers do, but I'm not taking that risk at all. Because Twitch may be a little less likely to ban someone of a high profile, but me, yeah, nah, they probably wouldn't think twice. It's like, he's really not giving that platform. He's not making us much money anyway, so I'm not even gonna pretend I can do what some of the other guys can do. I'm not talking about like Diablo 4 streamers. I'm talking about like the streamers in general who like massive streamers who dual stream it and have their chats connected. I'm curious why they waited for season 3 for that. It seemed like there's something they just could have done. I actually kind of agree. I don't know why they waited to, why they teased it and then they said, oh, by the way, it's coming to season 3. Feels like something that they could have turned on all the time, honestly. I don't really think that. I'm not a coder, I'm not gonna pretend, but that seems something like, because it's timed, it's just a matter of just changing the time. Right, to always be up. Maybe isn't Blood Harvest always up? Just do it like that, I guess. I don't know, but I agree. I don't know why they waited for season 3 for that. Oof. Rough. Also, chat, just in general, YouTube chat and Twitch chat. If I seem a little bit more anxious than usual, don't take it personal. I'm on prednisone for like this whole week and next week due to some medical conditions with my ears and whatnot, and it literally like heightens anxiety to like, and a lot. Do my best to kind of keep that under control, but yeah. It's rough. Been taking this since what was it, Saturday? So 3 pills a day, or 3 pills in the morning. That dude needs to get paid for that. Should ask for some THC gummies to go with it. I don't know if this. Well, actually, I don't even know if even prescription THC is legal in my state. I'm about to go check that, honestly. Young and healthy, get some sleep. Oof, that almost killed me. Alright, Blood Seekers. Where you at? Where you at? That was a Bone Spears. That's a Necro, right? I'm cool with that. What you got over there? That fire enchant. Ah, I almost had him. Fire enchants and the frozen nerve got me right afterwards. I probably shouldn't have shadow step. I probably should have just kept poking him. Because he had like no health. I probably could have just right clicked and he would have died. I've seen the prescription saving him and BS some others. Like it is actually prescribed for anxiety, yeah. That is true. I nah. But I mean the prednisone was definitely like prescribed to me. I've had fluid in my ears from the trip to Blizzcon since what, the beginning of November, I think it was. And my left ear wouldn't drain. My right ear is mostly okay, but my left ear just would not drain no matter what I would do. I was taking Sudafed for a little bit because that's what I was being told to do. From my general practitioner, and then I went to an ENT, like a specialist for it, and it was like, all right, so prednisone and then some prescription nasal spray or something like that. Did I go swimming? No. I flew from the East Coast to the West Coast, and when I got back on the plane ride back, or the plane trip back, basically I had airplane, quote unquote airplane ear when I landed, and it just never went away for like over a month and a half now. So, which sucks though, because, and this isn't really an excuse or anything, but generally speaking, especially as a musician, I listen to sound cues to make decisions in video games, period. Whether that is, so if I hear a mob on the left side or something like that, and these headphones have really good sound stage, so like I can get an idea of where attacks coming from range or whatever. So I use a lot of sound cues to make decisions. It was very important for me in fighting games because you can actually react quicker. You can kind of react, like you can somewhat react slightly faster to something that you hear versus something that you can see. It's very popular in fighting games. So I usually use a lot of like hearing cues or like listening cues. So when I couldn't hear anything in my left ear, and I still kind of can't still, then like anything on the left side makes it difficult to deal with auditory wise, because I just can't hear what's happening. So like if a fixed bind, or if there's a explosion that's getting ready to blow up on the left side, that's all on the left side of my headphones, and I don't hear it, whereas that I most likely will run right into it because I just simply just didn't hear it bubble up or didn't hear it rev up or anything like that. And it sucks. It really does suck. It kind of adds to the frustration of like when I'm playing seriously or when I was trying to push seriously in AOZ, where it's just like, you know, it was like, dang, if only I would have heard that thing to the left side. I mean, I could see it, so I can just adjust myself to see it versus hearing it. But I'm so used to hearing it that it's just like, it really messes with you. Decision making usually. Narrow arrow canal? No. I do have a deviated septum, which does make it more difficult for, because and it's more so launched towards the left side of my nose, which explains why the liquid isn't draining like it should, or draining as easy as it should. But it's not, it from what I was told, it shouldn't like be a problem. It shouldn't be a constant problem. This is just, do I lose any balance or anything? Nah. I said maybe a sinus. He ruled it out that it wasn't, but he still gave me some prescription nasal spray to take anyway. So I gotta take 2 of those, 2 sprays a day, and then prednisone every morning. So good friend's a doctor. I'm curious. So sorry. Oh no, man. No, you're good. You're good. I don't mind talking about it. But yeah, it just sucks because I never experienced it before. So I thought it would just go away on its own, like I was told. Like, you know, reading on the internet, oh, it'll just go away on its own. Give it a couple of weeks or whatever. Month and a half happens sort of like that. And don't trust doctors. They have to make money and pretend they know everything. We saw it in the last few years. I will say that I'd be more concerned if I had to pay out of pocket. I will say, being a teacher, I actually do have really good health insurance. So like, it didn't cost me a thing to at least go here and, but I mean, the prescriptions were like very little, but but yeah, at this point, I'm just trying to do whatever I possibly can just to get it fixed, because it's super hella annoying to deal with. It doesn't hurt or anything, it's just annoying. And I grew up seeing people use Q-tips to clean their ears, which I later found out, nope, just don't do that. Nope. Yeah. A musician and gamer with an ear infection losing his hearing. What a night. Yeah. It is annoying. It does get it does get a little frustrating. And I mean, like I said, I guess I can just kind of learn to adapt a bit more, you know, visually versus listening. But it makes it, the reason why sometimes also like I really rely on like sound cue stuff is because it allows me to like look at the chat a little bit and still know what's happening in the game in terms of certain sounds. So it's kind of like, if I hear a certain sound bubbling on the bottom left, you know, the screen, if I can hear it, but I'm looking at the chat, I know something's getting ready to happen. Let's look back at the screen real quick, you know, do a shadow step, evade, dodge, whatever. And then I'm usually okay, usually. But oftentimes I kind of can't do that right now. And not making any excuses or anything. I'm just saying it's different. It's different and it's annoying. But obviously not all of my deaths are like that. I say half are just bad decisions on my part. Anyhow, I think I'm going to rate out many reasons. Come to find out the wax healthy is a defense, really. We don't really have to rely on it as much anymore, but at one point, Bugs probably would have made a good own. Nah. Yeah, that's kind of it though. But yeah, prednisone definitely gives me like a heightened sense of anxiety and kind of makes things more annoying than that normally would be. Maybe that could be a partially reason why I'm like more over the AOZ grind / push than I normally would be. Maybe it's the prednisone. I don't know. Usually I'm not that annoyed over like D4 content or D3 content. I analyze it. I do break it down. I do complain if I think there are things rightfully to complain about. But oftentimes I still do it. This time I'm just like, screw it. So I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. But you could have fooled me every time I come in. You're always involved. All right. Let's go to somebody. Let's see. Stream is healthy. I think I found good settings. I think for YouTube. Hopefully it'll stay this way in the future. Ryan can let me know, right, Ryan? Yeah, who to go to? Well, let's Fame Regardless. She's a ridiculous grinder. I can never keep up with her ever. If I like, even if I tried, if I absolutely tried my absolute hardest, still couldn't keep up with her, with the kind of grinder that she is. Nah, can't do it. That is some tenacity. Yeah, I just don't have I just don't have that tenacity. Yeah, no, I don't. I just don't. Maybe back in the day, like way back in the day. But nowadays, no, not even. Anyhow, let's go to her. She's playing Blizzard. Sword. That should be fun. Give you guys something different to watch. Yeah, she's a true grinder. But she's like a grinder in like the casual. It's funny because she's not like ultra hardcore player in terms of like, the min max side of things or the the AOZ push kind of thing. She just likes playing the game a lot. Like she'll like a lot, and she'll play all kinds of builds and play everything in every class and multiple hundreds. So she's like. So I don't know if you would call that a casual grinder or like grinding casually. She's a D4 enjoyer. You're a vibe enthusiast. Yeah, I think it's cool. Anyhow, give her some love. I'll see y'all tomorrow night or tonight, wherever your time zone is. Chances are we'll play half Diablo 4. I'll probably end up playing Barrage tomorrow. And then half another game. I haven't decided which game comes first, but I will definitely take into account all the games that people are mentioned for the first game up. I think I might save Hades for the 21st though, because if like Riptide said, if the sale comes on the 21st, then they'll be on sale then. So we'll see. Anyhow, you have a good one. As always, till next time.